Hello, I'm Graham Horton. Welcome to this video. Now, this video is another product review for you, this time for a new flash trigger from the company Godox. It was supplied by the distributor Xpro for me to review for you, but that doesn't colour my opinion as to what you're going to see in this video or what you're going to hear. If there are any issues with the product, you'll get to know about it. So, this is the new X3 Pro, and it's a wireless transmitter system for your camera. This one is dedicated to the Olympus Panasonic range of cameras, but you can get it of course for Nikon, Canon, Fuji and Sony. Now, I've been using the Godox transmitters for a number of years now, and I started off with this very basic one, the X1T, which is a transmitter, and that couples to a receiver which goes on the bottom of your flash gun. I upgraded some years ago to the Xpro, which is the original version 1. There was a second version that came out. This meant that you could actually set the power levels for 5 channels very easily without having to mess around with buttons and things on the X1Ts. But now this X3 takes this a stage further and allows you to control Bluetooth flash units and Bluetooth light, so there is a lot more advantage in using the X3 Pro. Now, in this video I'm going to show you the unboxing and the features of the device, but you'll also see how I can control various flash guns. Now, even though this is the X3 Pro O version, the Olympus Panasonic, it will control not only the Olympus versions of the devices, so here is the TT350O, it will control that directly in TTL and manual mode. But we've also got the TT350 Fuji model, the Canon model, and also the Nikon model, and they will also fire in both TTL and manual modes because of the Godox X series flash commands. We'll also be looking at the newer versions of the flashes from Godox, the IT32 and the IT30 as well, so they will fire. By use of the original X1 series receivers, I've got here the Canon version and the Nikon version, so it means I can use my existing Canon and Nikon flash guns and again use them using the X series triggers to command both TTL and manual mode. So if you've got older flash guns, it's a very cost-effective way of using those flash guns. We'll be also looking at some of the bigger flash units from Godox, which I use here in my little studio. It's the TT685. This one is again the Olympus version, and this is the V850 Model 2. It's a single contact one, so it isn't dedicated to TTL. It's used in manual mode. And if we want to look at the bigger flash units, we've got the AD200, which again is TTL compatible. Oh, the big studio 600BM. This isn't TTL, it's manual, but again can be controlled from the Xpro triggers. Now, a word for some of my Panasonic viewers here. The original Panasonic bridge camera, the FZ200, which I introduced back in 2012, there were some flash compatibility issues with third-party flash guns, third-party triggers, but I've tested this thoroughly with the X3 Pro and it will work in all situations without any problems at all on the older bridge cameras and all the new ones up to the FZ82. It'll also work, of course, with the more professional range of Panasonic Lumix cameras without any issues whatsoever. So let's start by having a look at what you'll get in the box with the X3 Pro, and then I'll take you through the setup and all of the features that this device has. So you can see it here on the desktop. It's the TTL wireless flash trigger X3 Pro, and as I said before, this is a dedicated Olympus Panasonic model. More information around the packaging. Practical dual interaction, so you've got touchscreen and button control. Dual wireless mode, so you've got Bluetooth and 2.4 GHz wireless connection. Exposure synchronization. You've got advanced shutter control as well, so you can actually use this as a intervalometer if you like, as well as a standard flash trigger. On the back you'll find more specifications about the synchronization and the power modes, etc. But I'll go through that. So let's have a look what you get in the box. You'll get the instruction manual. It's a brief instruction manual, but you can in fact download from the Godox website a full user manual. But beware, it is quite a number of pages, over 170 pages, but you'll get the full instruction set for the device if you want more information. So this is the device itself. Take that out, and in the lower compartment you will find some accessories. And if we just have a look at the accessories, you'll find we've got a nice microfiber carry pouch, and of course you'll get the USB-C to USB-A charging cable, so you can charge the internal lithium-ion battery, just under 3000 milliamp hours in this device. So let's have a closer look at the unit. It's got a nice 2.4-inch color LCD touchscreen. Go over to this side, we've got the multifunction knob here, press and turn device, the power on off and mode switch, and the flash test switch on the side here. On the other side of the device you'll find the USB-C port for charging and firmware upgrades, and we've got a 2.5mm socket here, which is used for the older PC sync or using this with your on-camera intervalometer. On the back of the unit we've got the release button here to release the pin for locking onto the hot shoe, and again the hot shoe with the compatible pins for the particular camera. This one again is for the Olympus Panasonic combination. We've also got the AF focus light here, so if you turn on the AF focus light you will get the red light cross hairs on your subject to allow focus. Let's turn this on. I'll show you the interface screen. So we just turn it on by pressing the button on the side. Got the Godox flash screen, and then it comes up to the main screen. So you can see we've got immediate access to four of the channels, so A, B, C, D. But we can actually scroll up and you can see we've got the 5th channel there. And in fact we can actually hit the plus and minus button here, and we can add other channels if we wanted to. The A to F are TTL and manual control, and the 0 to 9 will be the manual only mode, so you can actually set up the manual or TTL modes. If you only wanted the 3 groups, then you could turn off E and D, or if you wanted an F group you can set these with the touchscreen interface. Go back to the main screen, we can swipe to the left and you can set the individual power and the mode. So if I wanted to look at channel A, if I just touch channel A, you can see we now get an exploded view of the features for channel A. So you can see we've got the option to set the power levels here using the plus and minus keys. We can turn that group on and off, so turning that off will immediately turn off that channel. Control for manual TTL control from here. The zoom settings, so you can actually leave it in auto mode, and the camera will then transmit the lens zoom information over to your flash guns, or you can set them individually from the presets there. So we'll leave that in auto. Swipe back to the main menu. You've also got here the option to turn on any modeling lights. So with the studio lights, for example, you can turn on and off the modeling lights, and you can then set its intensity dependent on the particular flash you're using. And to go back to the main screen we can swipe over, and again you can set the power. So here we're in manual mode. If I just swipe back across, you can see here on the screen I've got various power levels set for groups A, B, C and D, all in the manual mode. If I wanted to reduce the power on all those, I can use the minus key, so I can take them all down by 0.3 increments at a time, or if I wanted to go up I can change them. It will do that until you reach where one of them hits a maximum or a minimum. So here channel D and channel B are all at 1 over 1 or full power. It means I can't increment them anymore, but I can decrement them. So that's a very quick way. If you've got a studio setup and you find you're underexposing or overexposing, you can set them all together. If we swipe down from the top, you'll come into the main interface. So we've got the menu, the wireless setup commands. If you want to go into multi-mode, turn on the modeling lights, turn on the beeps when your flash is recharged, enable or disable high-speed sync. We can lock the screen, we can turn off the focus light, and we've now got the shutter control where we can use this for an intervalometer. So let's have a look at the main menu. If I touch the main menu, you can see we've got the option for Bluetooth, the shooting modes. Turn this into legacy hot shoe so it won't command TTL, it will just be the center pin firing, the auto off, the trigger distance, the increments between steps, the TTL converted to manual modes, high speed sync delay, so if you've got any delays you need to introduce, you can set them from here. Various presets you can set within the transmitter, the screen brightness, the language, reset the device, and device info. So let's see how we can set this up for particular channels. If we go into the main menu under wireless, you can see we've got the option here to set channel 1 up to 32. So you've got the option there to set your individual channel. You've also got the option here to set a channel ID if you want to really tighten down the interface between flashes firing in the studio. So if you've got multiple people shooting on channel 1, then you can actually isolate yours with a particular ID if your flash supports that. You've also got the option here to do a scan to find any wireless channels that might be free. So if I hit scan, it will scan around and find which devices are on that 2.4 gigahertz signal, and after it times out, it will give you a list of channels that are possible to use without any probably interference. So when this times out, we should get a list of optional channels. You can of course use the channel you want. So I want to use channel 1, but it will tell me whether the devices are using that. So here you can see these are the free channels which it recommends that you use. If we look at shoot, we've got options here for one shoot or all shoot. The one shoot, it only needs to send the triggering information to the respective flash guns. If we go in all shoot, it means it transmits both the trigger information and the actual parameters for the flash, such as zoom and power level. So if there are multiple people shooting, you put that into the all shoot mode and it ensures that everyone is receiving the same information. There's also a dedicated mode for using with the Sekonic 858 light meter, which means you can fire the light meter from here without a cable to set up the flash meter. So I'm going to be using the one shoot mode. It saves some battery level. I'm going to be using the one shoot mode. It does save some battery power as it doesn't have to transmit all that information. Trigger distance, if you're going to be using this very close to the camera, recommend you turn this down to the 0 to 30. It does prevent some false triggering or not triggering at all. The other options here are the step. So you can actually set up the minimum power and the increment between each step. So we're going to set it to 0.3. Screen brightness and screen off time. So you can actually set this. So if you're outside in bright sunlight, you can turn this up, and this would be the off time, 3 minutes. So the main features that I want to show you on this device. Let's now set it up on a camera and show you how the interface does work. So here you can see on my desktop I've got the older version of a Panasonic camera. This is the FZ200. I've installed the X3 Pro on the hot shoe, and here I've got the TT350O version. So controlling the TT350O Olympus Panasonic flash with full compatibility from the X3 Pro. Turned on the flash and I've turned on the transmitter. You can see at the moment I've got group setup here. And first thing I need to do is just synchronize the transmitter to the receiver. So at the moment you can see this is on channel 1 group C. You can see that from channel 1 group C. The flash is in the slave mode and we're in wireless. Here you can see group C is actually showing 1/4 plus 0.3, which is not the value that's on the flash. But if I synchronize the flash by pressing the test button on the side, you can now see that it's synchronized, and now the TT350O is actually showing the correct power level and the correct exposure compensation. If I turn on the camera, the flash is set to automatic zoom. So as I change the zoom level of the camera, you might just be able to hear the zoom motor. But what I can show you is inside the head of the device. So as I zoom, you can see that the zoom head is working. Now, what about that zoom control? There was an issue with the TT350O version of this flash. Wouldn't recognize the zoom commands from either of the Xpro series or the X3 Pro. It would just zoom forward and backwards. It would not move to the correct zoom position. Godox have come out with a fix for that in its version 1.3, of which I've been sent a pre-release version and loaded it onto the TT350O flash unit. As you can see, it now works perfectly. So shortly they will release the version 1.3 for the TT350O, and you will overcome those issues. Let's go back to the setup here. So you can see I can change the flash power directly from the screen. I can turn it into TTL mode or manual mode. If I wanted to put it into the multi-mode, then I have to come back to the interface here and select multi-modes. Once I select multi, you can see if I go back now to the setup, you can see we've got 5 times with a frequency of 4 Hertz. So if I set this down to 1 Hertz and for 3 flashes, when the camera fires, it will fire with a power level of 1/8, and it will actually give me 3 flashes with 1 second interval. Just a word about setting up for multi-mode. The exposure time must be long enough to support the multiple exposure. So we've got a value of 3 times with a frequency of 1 Hertz. So the actual exposure time will be 3 seconds. So the camera must have an exposure time longer than the flash durations. So here I've set a exposure time of 5 seconds on the Panasonic FZ200. But what I'm going to do is just reduce the power down at the moment to, say, 128th, so the thing will cycle quick enough between each flashes, and the exposure will be less on the screen. So I'm now going to take the exposure, so we'll get 3 flashes with 1 second between each flash, and it will fire on groups A, B and C. So if I didn't want B and A to fire, then I would just have group C, which is what we've got set here on the flash unit. So when I start the exposure, you should see those 3 seconds of exposure. So here we go. Then we'll get the dark time from the exposure. You can see it's still overexposed, obviously, because we've got room light as well, but that's how you would set the multi-mode exposure. Just to show you the full versatility of the Godox X series flash units, we've got the X3 Pro O here, so the Olympus version on the Panasonic camera. Here I've got the Olympus Panasonic Vimit flash gun, so that's the TT350O version. I've got a Canon version and I've got a Fuji version. So each of these can be controlled from a separate controller. So we've got the Olympus version, but it will fire and control the Fuji, Canon and Olympus all independently with the correct parameters. So for example, we've got here, you can see channel A on a 32, channel B at a quarter plus 0.7, and on channel C a quarter plus 0.3, and they're incremented on, they are all displayed here on the flash units. So if I, for example, change the Olympus to TTL mode, you immediately can see that the Panasonic version has changed to TTL. If I went to channel C, which is the Fuji flash gun, and again we put that into TTL mode, you can see that the Fuji flash gun will fire with the parameter set from the Panasonic camera. And again, if we went to group B and I put that in TTL mode, then again it will fire with the parameters set by the camera. So just wake up the camera again, and we'll put this in automatic so we're not using that 5-second exposure. So now when I press the shutter release on the XZ200, it will evaluate the exposure and then set the TTL exposure levels for each of the flash units. So we'll do a test fire and set the exposure. It will also set the zoom level. So if I zoom with the flash unit, it will also set the flash unit. So if I zoom now from the camera, the flash units are now zooming to the correct level as dictated by the focal length of the lens. It doesn't actually show you the focal length, but we're in the auto mode. So there I've shown you how the X series transmitters will control any other type of flash unit by using the X series command. So to show you the full versatility of this X series flash system from Godox, I've got one here which is the X1R, it's a receiver. This is the Canon version, and I've got a Canon compatible flash unit. It's the Relied YH500C, so it's a TTL and manual version. So I've got on here the X1RC version. So we'll have a look at this on the desktop. So let's turn the flash unit on. And you can see it's now synchronized. We're on channel 01 group B. So on group B here on channel 1, you can see the power level is a quarter plus 07. If I change the power level, you can see you can instantly changes on the flash unit. And if I go into TTL mode, you can see that we've gone into TTL mode on the flash unit. If you didn't want to have the other channel showing, obviously you can just go to channel A and turn that off. And if we go to channel C and turn that one off, and if we go to channel D and turn that one off, then you can see we just got the channel B where we can actually plus and minus the power level. It doesn't show the incrementation on the display, but the flash power will increment by that value. So let's go back to 0. We can wake up the camera and take a picture with the flash. The zoom won't increase because it doesn't transmit the zoom information to the camera. I don't think I can set auto zoom on here. No, there's no auto zoom on the flash unit, so it will not work with the zoom level of the camera. But obviously the exposure does, so let's take a picture. You see the device fires nicely on channel B. So there we are. You can convert your old flash units to the new X series by using the very cheap X1R receivers. Obviously the bigger power guns like the TT685 will work exactly as they should do on the respective system, so the O would work with the O and everything work fine. If we look at some studio lights here, and I've got the AD200, it's not the Pro version, it's the original AD200. I'm just going to turn that on, and if we look at the back of the unit here, we're on channel 1 group A. So let's re-enable group A on here, and it's in TTL mode. I'm just going to synchronize the two together. So if I now change to manual mode, you can see that this is now changed to manual mode with the correct power level. So you can change the power level. So a neat feature of these studio lights, some of them have got internal modeling light, and the AD200 is one that does have an internal modeling light. So if we go to group A, then here we've got the modeling light control. So at the moment it's set to off. I can slide this over and turn it on, and it will come on at full brightness. So unfortunately the 200 doesn't have an intensity control. Some of the flash units do have an intensity control, or in the proportional mode, the brightness of the modeling light will follow the brightness of your flash. So on some of the studio lights you will get that proportional control, or you can actually vary the power level, but not unfortunately with the original AD200, so you can set that there. On the AD600 we have a modeling light control. So if I turn that on, you can see we've got 3 levels of control: 1, 2 or 3, or off. With the 600 original version you can only turn it on and off from the X3 Pro. So let's have a look at that. If I just turn that on, go from off to 100%, you see this comes back on at full power level 3. If I reduce that, you don't actually change the value of the intensity. It can only control it on or off. So if I just turn that off and turn it back on again, you can see it always comes up to the level that you've preset on the flash unit. But you can control, of course, the power level, and you can't go into TTL mode as this doesn't support TTL, but you can actually control the power level manually. So again, if I synchronize that, you can see we get a much powerful light from the Studio Flash. Now you can, of course, use the X3 Pro or the other triggers with the newer flash guns, and this one is the latest, the IT32. Normally you would have the X5 receiver in the base of here, but you can use this as a standalone flash if you didn't want to buy the receiver. You can control it from the X3 Pro. So I'm going to turn on the X3 Pro, turn on the IT32. First of all, we'll set up the correct channel. So we'll just go into the menu, and if we swipe down, go to the wireless setting, we're in channel 1, no ID, so that's what we want. Let's just have a look over here. So channel 1, group A. So we want to set this to group A. So what we'll do is to swipe this down, the mode, which will be the receiver mode. So at the moment that's on camera flash, so I want to change that to the receiver mode. So if you like, the radio waves are coming in, and if I just check that we're on short distance, we are. You can see we're in now channel 1, group A. If I wanted to change the group, then obviously I can touch the group A and go through and set what I want, but I want to be on group A. And if I synchronize, we should find that this will now transfer that 1/16th power in manual mode over to the IT32. So let's synchronize, and they can see it's now transferred. So if I were to take a picture in the TTL mode, so I'm going to change this to TTL, we'll wake up the camera. You can see the actual flash has gone into TTL mode. So when I take a picture using the camera, it will fire in TTL and give me the correct exposure. So you can see now we've used the more modern flash guns without the X5 receiver on the IT32 and controlled directly from the X3 Pro. It will of course work with other versions. This is the IT30. This is the dedicated old version, so just by turning this on. So this is the IT30 Pro. It's the Olympus version. Unfortunately the battery just ran out, so I put it onto USB-C charging, and of course you can power the flash as you're charging it. So we set this up to be on group C, and channel 1, and you can see it's synchronized from the device. If I went to TTL or manual, you can change the power level, and of course it will flash as you fire it from the camera. Well, another useful feature of the X3 Pro is the ability to shoot time-lapse or intervalometer type pictures, but you can actually use it as a remote for just single shooting as well. Unfortunately, I've lost my lead, which would interface to the Panasonic Lumix, which is a 2.5 to 4 pin connector, but I have a connection here for my Canon, so it does exactly the same thing. It was just really firing the shutter. To access the intervalometer mode, scroll down from the top, and you can see at the moment you've got shutter control. At the moment it's controlling the flash, but if you touch shutter control, it brings you into this secondary menu, which allows you to access the parameters for delay, the length of shot, the interval between the shots, and if you want to do a number of shots. So let's just explain those. If you go for delay, it says, do you want to start delay before you start shooting? So maybe you want your tripod to stop shaking. So let's put a 1 second timer on there and say yes. The length of shot, so if you're using very short exposures, you can get away with 1 second. If you're doing longer exposures, you may need to put say 2 or 3 seconds on there. So we'll put 2 seconds on. The interval between the shots, again, we're going to put a 2 second timer on there, and the number of shots you can set to infinity if you were doing a long time lapse, or you can say I want to shoot every 4 seconds and say yes. Now when you press start, it will fire the camera shutter. So just wake up the camera here. Now when I press start, you've got a 1 second delay. First shot, second shot, third shot, fourth shot, and then you finish the exposure. So there you are. You can set it up for interval shooting. If you wanted to use this just as a remote shutter control, so if I want to remove this from the hot shoe, for example, and have it on one side and have this on the camera, if you set the delay to 0, the length of shot to 1, the interval to 1, and your number of shots to 1, when I press start, it will just take that one shot for you. So you use this as now a remote controller on cable. So you've now seen the major features of the Xpro 3 trigger from Godox. Really does speed up your workflow compared to something like the original Xpro or even the X1 type triggers. It does really streamline it and gives you that extra feature. Don't forget there's also an app which allows you to control this from your smartphone if you wanted to do that. Not something I use, I'll just use this trigger itself, but there is the app where you can actually control this from your smartphone and actually set up your flash if they've got Bluetooth control as well. Well, that's it for the video. Thanks very much for watching. I'll put a link in the video description for the Godox website. You might want to look at some more parameters or indeed purchase it from there. At the moment in the UK it's about £80, so it's a very cost-effective device to use with your studio or home equipment. So until the next video, thanks again for watching. Please do take care, and I hope to see you all very, very soon. Goodbye for now.